actually thinks they know what extraversion and introversion is, because it's in our common parlance. We would say somebody's an extrovert personality. Oh, haven't they got a great personality because they're extrovert? Well, you know what? It'd be great for some people who, like them, are extrovert too, or who like to interrelate with an extrovert personality. So again, there's no such thing as a great personality, because it's great for some people and not for others. However, some people prefer to reach out to the outside world. They need to externalize, they need to think out loud, they need to touch things or feel it and get a response back. And they would be, generally speaking, more extrovert than introvert. However, they would be measured on a bipolar scale, which would measure extraversion and introversion. If it's a bipolar scale, it's like a piece of string. So if I pull on this piece of string and I get a big part out, that could be extraversion. If a smaller part left, that will be introversion. So it depends on how much of the string the person moves along, whether you'll be extrovert or introverted. People think that introverted people are shy. That's actually not true. It's a common parlance. Introvert, they're quiet, they're shy, they're quiet. But they've got a very busy inner life going on in their head, because they're thinking about things. They're probably thinking about that extrovert. Why? Why are they making such a fool of themselves? Because from their perspective, that's not a great personality. That's exhibitionism. That's loud, because they prefer to be more reflective, to be quieter, to sit and think about things. Hey, that's great too, because we need people who can be calm or who can be merry and jolly things along a bit. So there is no such thing as an introvert, pure and simply, or an extrovert. There'll be somebody who has more introversion and maybe rarely dips into their extroversion, but they can still do it, and it depends on the circumstances. We've all been in a room full of people where perhaps they're all introvert, but one of those introverts will have to act the extrovert part there, otherwise nothing's going to get said, is it? They're all going to be looking at each other, who's going to speak? So somebody there will be motivated to speak first, even though that's not their natural stance. There's the example of the extrovert personality. Extroverts don't dance and sing around all of the time, but they're quite able to go into a room and speak to people without ever knowing them. They can go up and they can introduce themselves and they can speak, and they're quite comfortable doing that. But there's a story about the couple and the husband and wife. The husband takes the wife to his company cocktail party, and somebody goes up to the wife and says, "Oh, you're John's wife. Oh, he's such a card, isn't he? He's such great fun." And she goes, "Is he?" Because you know what? By the time John gets home, he's not great fun, because he's expended all his energy out there. He's extroverted. He's expended all that energy, and when he gets home, he just wants to sit down, and he doesn't want to speak to anybody, not his wife, not anybody else, because he's exhausted. The opposite could happen with the introvert. The partner could say, "Oh, your husband's so reflective and so quiet and what have you." And the wife will say, "Oh, well, he's not at home." Because at home, he might have opinions that he will volunteer, because at home, his opinions matter, and these people matter to him. At work, he doesn't care to volunteer anything unless asked, because it doesn't really matter. He doesn't care about being out first with the answer to the question. He cares about the question being right. So at work, it's more about being right. At home, it's more about expressing what he needs from those he loves, or what they need he wants to identify and find out. So he will seem to be a lot more expressive at home than outside. We all think we know our partners well, but in fact, even in something as simple now as extraversion and introversion, which is actually not simple at all, even in that, we could be very wrong, because we know them at the part we come into the movie, if you like, or the part in the bipolar scale where we mostly see them. But remember, they move along it. You are a mix of extroversion and introversion. You can use both. There's no person is either one or the other.